I found out my husband had been cheating. Then I found out who with. Then I found out who else knew. My name is Vanessa. I'm 38. I have a daughter who is 7 and a divorce that was finalized 8 months ago. I'm going to tell you the story in the order I found things out because I think the sequence matters. My husband Michael and I were married for 6 years. We met at a work event. He was in finance. I was in HR, not for the same company, just at the same conference. We dated for 2 years, got engaged, got married. We had our daughter, Lily. We bought a house in a suburb of Nashville. We had what looked from the outside like a sturdy and unremarkable life. I noticed something change in Michael maybe 18 months into our marriage. A kind of withdrawal that I attributed at first to stress at work, then to the adjustment of having a newborn, then to general life fatigue. When Lily was a year old, I tried to have a conversation with him about whether we were okay, and he said yes, everything was fine, he was just tired. I believed him because I wanted to. The thing that finally broke it open was a hotel receipt. I know it's always a receipt, but this one I found when I was cleaning out a jacket pocket before dropping clothes at the dry cleaner. The hotel was 40 minutes outside Nashville. The date was a Saturday in March, a Saturday Michael had supposedly spent at a golf tournament with friends. I had been home with Lily the whole day. I texted the number of the friend supposedly hosting the tournament. He said the tournament had been canceled and they'd rescheduled to April. I did not confront Michael that night. I took a week. I needed to know how bad it was before I decided what to do with it. I went through his email, his personal one, not his work, and found what I was looking for faster than I expected. He'd been careless, or maybe he'd stopped caring about being careful. There were months of emails. Dinner reservations, hotel confirmations, texts that had been forwarded from his phone to email the way people do when they want a record of something sweet someone said. And in the emails, there was a name. The name was my sister's. My little sister Bria, who was 25 at the time, who was in her graduate program, who came to our house for Sunday dinner at least twice a month, who was Lily's godmother, who had stood beside me at my wedding. I had to read the name several times before my brain agreed to process it. I did not call Michael, I called Bria. She answered on the second ring the way sisters do when the other one calls. Her voice was normal, warm, a little distracted the way she always sounded when she was working. She said hey like she always said hey. I said her name. I said it the way you say something when you need the other person to understand the weight of what's coming. There was a pause on her end that told me everything before I said another word. I told her I knew. I told her I had read the emails. I told her I knew how long it had been going on. The silence that came after that was not the silence of denial or confusion. It was the silence of someone who has been waiting for a door to open and is now standing in it, blinking at the light. She said she was sorry. She said it multiple times. She said it had started as something small, a conversation that went somewhere it shouldn't have, and then it had grown beyond what she knew how to stop. She said she had ended it 3 months ago. She said she had been trying to figure out how to tell me. I told her I needed to not talk to her for a while. She said she understood. I hung up. I sat on the floor of my bedroom for a long time. 2 days later, I confronted Michael. He didn't deny it. He broke down in a way that I think was genuine, the kind of crying that doesn't perform, that just collapses. He confirmed everything and confirmed it was over and said he would do whatever I needed. I told him what I needed was for him to move out. He moved into a corporate apartment the next week. A month later, I called my mother. I called her because I needed her. Because my marriage had just ended and I had a daughter and my sister had done the thing she'd done and I needed my mother. She picked up and asked how I was and I said I wasn't great. And I started to tell her about Bria and Michael and she went quiet. Not the quiet of someone who is shocked. The quiet of someone who is figuring out what they already know. I stopped talking. I said, "Mom, did you know?" Another pause, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. A pause that contained the answer before the answer came. She said Bria had told her. She said it had been 3 months ago, around the same time Bria had told me she ended it. She said she had encouraged Bria to tell me herself, and that she had believed Bria was going to. I asked my mother if she had considered telling me herself. She said she hadn't wanted to be the one to blow up my marriage. She said she'd been hoping it would just be over and I would never have to know. I want to be fair to my mother. She is 64 years old. She grew up in a generation that believed marriage was a thing you protected by not knowing too much. I understand, in the abstract, the calculus she made. But I had been living in a house with a man who was sleeping with my sister for nearly a year. I had been hosting them both at Sunday dinners. I had watched my sister hold my daughter and help her with puzzles and read to her at bedtime. And my mother had known for 3 months that this had happened and had come to those dinners herself and sat at my table and said nothing. The 4-second pause on that phone call is the loneliest I have ever felt in my life, lonelier than finding the hotel receipt, lonelier than reading the emails, because in that pause I understood that the betrayal was not just from my husband or my sister. It was from the person I had assumed was always unconditionally on my side. I did not speak to my mother for 3 months. We are speaking now. It is different than it was. Some things, once you see them, don't unsee. Bria and I are not speaking. I don't know if we will be. I think about Lily, who loves her aunt, who asks for her sometimes, and I don't know how to navigate that in a way that is fair to my daughter without asking more of myself than I have to give right now. Michael and I co-parent. It is civil because we have a child, and being civil is the only option that doesn't hurt Lily. Some days civil is very hard. Most days it's just the thing you do. I posted this because I needed people who owed me nothing to know what happened. My therapist knows. A few close friends know. The internet seemed like a place where I could say the whole truth without managing anyone else's feelings about it. And that, it turns out, is exactly what I needed. The thing about betrayal that comes in layers is that you process each layer on its own timeline. The husband layer hit first and was devastating in the specific way that primary betrayals are loud, immediate, complete. The sister layer came next and was a different kind of devastation, quieter and in some ways more disorienting because it reached into a different part of me. Sisters are woven into you in ways that husbands aren't. You shared a childhood. You shared a bathroom and a mother and all the small formative embarrassments of growing up. The thread runs differently. The mother layer was the last, and I think, the one I'm still processing most. Not because it was the worst betrayal. I don't think it was, not by design. But because my mother is the person whose job it has always been to be unconditionally on my side. And finding out she had information about my harm and weighed whether to give it to me, and decided not to is something I'm still trying to place in my understanding of her. I've thought about why she made that choice. I've thought about it from her point of view, with as much generosity as I can manage. She believed the affair was over. She believed Bria was going to tell me. She wanted to protect the structure of my family. She comes from a generation and a culture where the stability of a marriage is a value that sometimes overrides the individual rights of the people inside it. I understand all of this. Understanding is different from forgiving. Forgiving is different from forgetting. All three are different from where I currently am, which is somewhere in the early stages of building a new version of my relationship with my mother that accounts for what I now know about the limits of her loyalty. We have dinner together sometimes. She plays with Lily. Some things continue because they must and because Lily deserves her grandmother, but something has changed in the room between us, and I don't think it's going to change back.